Hey guys, we want to start the discussion with God's revelation of Himself as the I am. He tells us in Exodus 3:14. He tells Moses to reveal to the children of Israel, "I am that I am," and then He said, "I am hath sent me unto you." So God reveals Himself as, first of all, He's a person. He's personal. And we've been made in His image. We are persons, meaning we have a will, we have a volition. We act upon that will. We are, self-conscious. We're aware. God is self-aware. He's not a force. He's a person who has actions that He does. He has thoughts. He speaks, communicates. So the Bible reveals God as a person. I am. He's the self-sufficient, self-contained. He's limited only by Himself. He's absolute in the sense that there are no restrictions to God. His only restrictions are His personal nature, who He is, and that's significant too to recognize that God doesn't change, and we're going to get into the immutability of God and that He is invariant, that He doesn't change. But the purpose of these particular attributes is because these are the foundations. These attributes of God turn out to be instrumental in debating and disputing with unbelievers regarding the nature of God, because they've got their own conceptions of God, but we have to go by what the Scriptures reveal, what nature reveals about God, His eternal power and Godhead, and His self-revelation. So when people claim that they know something about God, it's usually based on their imagination. They think God is a particular way. Whether God is love, whether it agrees with the Bible. People will say God is love, but where do they get that idea if they don't get it from the Bible? Because the same Bible that said God is love says that God is just, and so God must punish sin. But with the concept of God as the I am, the self-sufficient, self-contained God, that He doesn't need anything else. He doesn't need anything over which He can learn of Himself. God's not learning of Himself. The Bible says the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God. So God knows Himself. He is self-contained. He's always known Himself. He isn't learning of Himself. He's not passing through a series of thoughts about Himself. His understanding is infinite, and so He's self-contained, and so that's what we need to understand when we see the revelation of God as the I am, that He's a personal, self-sufficient, self-contained, unchanging God, and that as a person, personhood is introduced into the world. God's not a force. Many unbeliever worldviews see God as an active force or an energy, source energy or some term like that. But the Bible reveals God as a person who has a purpose for His creation that He reveals in the Scriptures. He reveals through prophecies, and that's what we're going to look at as the foundation of epistemology. How we know what we know, and how knowledge in itself is possible. Like, how can we exist as persons who participate in absolute knowledge? How do we participate and engage in laws, universal laws of thought? That involves a worldview where you have universal knowledge that's contained and accessible, and that we've been made in such a way that we exist in such a state that we can participate in this knowledge. Well, the Bible says we've been made in the image of God. The Bible teaches that God is omniscient. The Bible teaches that God is omnipotent. So these attributes that we're going to look at in this series are the foundation. We're not going to exhaust all the attributes of God. I mean, we got eternity for that, but these are necessary when you're engaging in unbelievers and unbelieving worldviews and unbelieving conceptions of God. You want to know and have a functional understanding. You can point to verses, and we're going to have some verses displaying also of where you can go and in the description below on how to learn of these scriptures, understand where they are, and be able to utilize them in your defense of the Christian faith. All right, so we're going to continue with that line of thinking.